What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about some more bad Norwegian translations. So, today, I want to take another look at this Instagram page called Bad Norwegian Translations. It has all of these Norwegian words and sayings, but it also has the English translation, which makes absolutely no sense most of the time and are honestly pretty funny. So I want to take a look at some more of these, starting with lard rings, smultringer. These are donuts? In Norwegian, it's smultringer. Lard, that translates to lard rings? Why? Isn't lard like fat? Animal fat? What are Norwegian donuts made out of? What? So, in Norwegian, it literally means lard ring, but it's not made out of animal fat, really. I mean, maybe they're like fried in oil, but yeah, I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me, which makes sense because it's bad Norwegian translations. Let's keep going. Uh, this is barneskeren, children's ski race. This is an idiom? This is a saying? This is used when you win or finish something with a very big margin compared to the rest. And it's usually used to rub it in to your competitors. this is to make fun of your competitors. If you really win something by a lot, you win easily, you're like, oh, that was a barneskeren. Which you're calling that. You said you defeated them easily, like children. That's that's a good one. That would be a good one. I wish we had something like that. That was, you know what we do in America. We would say that was child's play. That was child's play. In Norwegian, it's a children's ski race, which makes sense. Norway, it has to do with skiing. That one kind of made sense to me after I thought about it for a sec. Next one is klem, which means squeeze, but in Norwegian, klem is hug. I mean, I guess you're squeezing them when you hug. Squeeze. I'm going to give you a squeeze, a klem. I don't know why squeeze sounds so much stranger than hug. They really are the same thing. This is nutte på tråden? Nutte på tråden? Maybe? A knot on the thread. This must be like a saying. It's usually used when there is a small conflict or a minor hindrance, similar to the English, a bump in the road. Oh, yeah, when there's like a little obstacle or something in the way, you're like, oh, that's just a little bump in the road. In Norwegian, it's like, oh, that was a nutt på tråden. Like, not a big deal, but there was like a little obstacle. Okay, a knot in the thread. A knot in a thread or a rope is kind of like a bump on a road. It's like a little thing. Yeah, that's not that crazy. That's not that crazy to me. Okay. This is kampsport. Kampsport. Battle sport? Oh, this is Norwegian for martial arts, like fighting style. Martial arts in Norwegian is kampsport. Battle sport. It is. I mean, that would sound cool. Like in American, in English, in American, American English. We should call it battle sport. That's much cooler than martial arts. Martial arts sounds civilized, but let's do some battle sport. Like, it's a little more aggressive in Norwegian. Wow. Okay, so, this is skille snurr og barter. Skill. What? How do you say that second word? Skille snurr, skille snurr og barter. Separate the snot from the mustache. What? Yeah, okay. This is what we're here for. This is a bad Norwegian translation. Yeah. So what does this mean? This is a Norwegian phrase. It's to separate important and unimportant information when having an argument or a discussion. It's used when the focus of a discussion is on the wrong issue. Oh. It's a very funny analogy, but I have to say, I like the meaning behind this. You're having a discussion, the discussion is getting off track, or you're focusing on the wrong things, and you're like, okay, we need to separate the snot out of the mustache. What an amazing visual. Do Norwegians, since this is just normal to you, do you even think about this as being funny or strange? Are you like, hey, you know what, guys, let's calm down. Let's skille snor agbarter. Let's separate the snot out of the mustache. That's funny. This is a glidios. Glidilos? Los? Gliding lock. This is a zipper. A zipper is a gliding lock. That makes sense to me, actually. There's quite a few here today that are not even that bad, honestly. It's funny how literal Norwegian, when you translate Norwegian into English, it can be very, very literal. Like this is a gliding lock, a lock that glides up and down. And then, but in English, we just cut out the literal stuff and say, it's a zipper. That's what it is. It's a zipper. This is a Jernekar. Jernekar? Core man? A thoroughly decent, reliable, good guy. Simply put, a quality guy. That's Tyler is a Jernekar. A decent guy. No, I don't mean to I don't mean to toot my own horn here. But I'm just such a good guy, you know? I'm just a reliable, decent, good guy. A quality guy. That's me. A Jernekar. That's cool that there's a word for this. What would you say in English? I can think you might say he's a stand-up guy. He's a stand-up guy. That's kind of the most similar thing I can think of. In Norwegian, it's just one word. There's a word for this, a Jernekar. A core man. A man you want to be at the core of your life. Maybe that's why it translates into that. This is a oh boy. Tålmodighet. Tålmodighet. This is a tough one to pronounce, but it translates to endurance, courage, patience. Patience in Norwegian is tålmodighet. Tålmodighet. I'm definitely butchering this. Is patience the same as endurance, courage? I like that. Courage, endurance, courage. It kind of makes sense when you literally translate it. That is kind of what patience is. That's really cool, actually. This is Gamle Erik. Old Eric. Is this like the devil? What is this? One of the many names for the devil. Oh, it is. It's a name for the devil. In Norwegian, you have names for the devil. In America, we say Satan, Lucifer, the devil. So in Norway, you have names like Red Simon, Fanden, Steigen, Svarten, Gamle Erik. Is the devil's name Eric? Eric. Huh, I've never heard that before. That's interesting. Farfar. Farfar. This is grandfather. It translates to father, father. The father of your father. Farfar. That makes sense. You know, a lot of these, when you translate Norwegian words directly into English, I mean, if you went up to an American and said, your father, father, that would obviously make no sense. But The father of your father makes sense. It makes kind of sense. Okay. Ha en rev bak oret. Ha, ha en rev bak uret? Have a fox behind the ear. I have no idea what this would mean. Have a fox behind the ear? Like, listen closely. If you have a fox behind your ear, it means you are cunning or sly, like a fox. What does the fox say? Is that what that song's about? It can also be used about someone who is naughty or deceiving. So if you have a fox behind your ear, you're really saying you are like a fox. You are sly, cunning, maybe even deceiving, deceptive. And this is like a phrase. This is ha en rav bakoret. In America, is there anything like this? Not really. I'm thinking of, oh, he's sly like a fox. That's not really a saying. That's very literal. Like, you're sly like a fox. This is a saying, a phrase. Have a fox behind the ear. Ha en rev bakaret. Jotieg. Jateg? This is ground meat, which translates to meat dough. That makes sense, honestly. That's not that weird. Burde lukte lunda. Burde lukte lunda. Lunta. Should have smelled the fuse. These are amazing, some of these. You should have smelled the fuse. So I'm guessing this means you should have known what was wrong. You should have been more aware of your surroundings. This is used when you should have sensed that something is wrong, sketchy, or bad, what was happening or about to happen. Something bad was going to happen, and you should have noticed. Burde lukte lunda. You should have smelled the fuse. That makes sense. Even when you this is not even a bad translation. You should have smelled the fuse. Well, I get the advantage of reading the explanation. If you came to me and said, you should have smelled the fuse, that would make no sense. So I guess it is a bad Norwegian translation after all. But in the sense that you should have smelled danger, you should have known something was wrong. It kind of makes sense. Flodhest, hippo, which is a river horse. This, in Norwegian, you literally call it a river horse. A hippo doesn't have, like, its own name. It's a river horse. Flodhest. No, it's a hippo. It is a river. I mean, it is a river horse, isn't it? Except you can't really ride a flodhest, a hippo. You can't really ride it, but this is feisefin. Fart pretty? Fart pretty? That doesn't mean anything to me. Farting is not pretty. Feisefin. Used about someone who behaves in a snobbish way or thinks they're too good for something. Too pretty to fart. Oh, man. We do have a saying like this in America. It's, they think their shit doesn't smell. That's the American phrase. It's exactly the same. It's someone who thinks they're too good. They think their poop does not smell bad. They're too good to fart. Feisefin. But fart pretty. Fart pretty. I like that. That's much shorter. That's a much shorter way of saying that idea. Mannen med joen? Mannen med joen? Joen. The man with the scythe. The Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper is the man with the scythe. That does make sense. This is a lesehest. It's a reading horse. Reading horse? Why would a horse be reading? A person who is fond of reading? For example, my daughter read 10 books this summer. She's a real lesehest. This is something you call someone. It's like a good thing. It's a compliment. You're a lesehest. You're a reading horse. Like you have a lot of endurance, like a horse, to read a lot of stuff. Or if you called somebody a reading horse in America, that they'd just be like, "What?" Do we have a word like this? Yes. We say bookworm. We say bookworm. Norwegians say reading horse. I can't really defend bookworm. They're kind of the same thing. Lesehest. I like that. This is trekkspill. Trekkspill. Pull play. It's an accordion. You pull and play it. Okay. It's interesting how a lot of Norwegian words literally describe the object. Like the trekkspill literally says what you do with it. Whereas in English, accordion, that doesn't mean anything. It just means what it's called. So a lot of Norwegian words actually say what the object is. Like the hippo is the river horse. That's really interesting about Norwegian language, actually. Supejak. Supejak? Supejok? Soup cuckoo. What? There's a bird in the soup? There's no known origin for this term. It is used as a mild insult when someone does or says something stupid. You're calling them a soup cuckoo? A soup bird? To say someone is dumb? Nobody knows where this came from. Supejak. Soup cuckoo. I'm going to have to use that on somebody. This is a live more, which translates to life mother. This is a womb or a uterus. Yeah, it means life, mother, life. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, once again. Omote seg selv ei døra. To meet oneself at the door. Omote seg selv ei døra. To meet yourself at the door. What does it mean to meet yourself at the door? This can be tricky for English speakers, since in English, this means to be busy. But in Norwegian, it means you are facing your own prejudices, or you say one thing but do the opposite. Okay, this is kind of like when we say you have to look at yourself in the mirror. You have to be honest with that means you have to be honest with yourself. This means you have to look at yourself and face that you're being hypocritical. You have to face your prejudice. You have to acknowledge your own bias. Is that about right? It's kind of like you have to look yourself in the mirror, how we would say. You have to be honest with yourself. To meet yourself at the door. Okay, I think we have something kind of similar to that. Now, the actual translation, you should meet oneself at the door. That means not, yes, that translation, I have no idea what that would mean, but the explanation makes kind of sense. Mortkaken, placenta, the mother cake. Oh God, I guess the placenta is kind of like a mother cake. That's hilarious. That's what it is in Norwegian? Morkaken. Mother cake? I guess. Some people actually take the placenta home and cook it and eat it. I've heard about that. Okay, atpoklat. Atpoklat. This translates to after blob. What is an after blob? Atpoklat. A child born many years after their siblings. Usually people have a lot of children in succession. And then another 8 to 10 years later. Oh yeah, I had a friend who was just like this. If you have a brother or sister who's 10 years older than you, like your parents spent 10 years between giving birth. There's a word for this? Atpoklot. Atpoklot. After blob. That's not the most endearing term. We don't really have a word for this in English that I know of. So I'm just going to call it an after blob. So, and with that, I could do this all day, but I think that's a good place to stop. It is so interesting learning about these Norwegian words and phrases, not just because they're interesting, the meaning behind them, but the translations. The translations are funny because they don't really make sense, but in a strange way they do make sense, some of these, in a funny way. Like the placenta is a mother cake. You do have to meet yourself at the door if you're being honest with yourself. You do play an accordion. You can read like a horse. Once you get the explanation, these make a lot more sense, but it's just funny. These are so funny to go through. I really enjoyed this. And I learned a little bit of Norwegian language, which is great. So anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of these Norwegian sayings, if I misunderstood anything, or your thoughts on any of these words and phrases. That'd be awesome to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Norway and learning about Norwegian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.